she was very happy that I told her. But I get all kinds of calls. This one lady told me that she was from back east. She had an old beat-up pickup truck, and she didn't know whether it was going to get to Santa Fe or not. But she said, if I can get to Santa Fe in my pickup truck, will you put me in your car and take me the rest of the distance out to the treasure?
What did you say to that?
I made some innocuous comment to her that satisfied her.
Have you seen changes in the town? Have you seen people coming down here looking for that treasure in these past 10 years?
The question is, have I noticed that
there been a lot of people coming in?
The city gave me a proclamation because the occupancy rate in the motels in Santa Fe was up 6% 2 years in a row, and nobody could figure out why. The city thinks that the treasure. Yeah, I mean, I'm selling a lot of meals in the cafes and motel rooms and airplane tickets, and we brought you to Santa Fe, and you flew out here, and you're going to have a couple of meals and stay in a motel. Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about.
You said in the beginning that you wanted to give people the satisfaction of finding something because you yourself dedicated your life looking for things.
That's
and
right.
Finding things. Tell me about that.
Well,
your life.
I've always been a collector. I found my first arrowhead when I was 9, and that started me off on a wonderful adventure, a lifetime adventure of looking for things, and I'm thrilled. I own a big Indian run out here, San Lazaro Pueblo, and I love to go out there and look in the ant hills because the ants bring prehistoric ancient beads up and deposit them on the surface while they're building their little tunnels. I love to do things like that, but I've always been, since I was 9 years old, I've spent a lot of time looking at the ground. I walked out of the First National Bank here in Santa Fe years ago, and I looked on the cement in front of me, and there was a diamond laying there. I thought it was a fake diamond, or wasn't a real diamond, but it turned out to be a 2.5 carat diamond. My wife has it wearing around her neck now, but my eyes have always been on the ground, and my anticipations have been on the horizon. I don't know where I got that comment, but I think that describes me a little bit.
And you have been a guide since the age of 9, right?
I was a fishing guide at ages 12 and 13 in West Yellowstone. I took fishermen out in Yellowstone Park and around the lakes and rivers around West Yellowstone, Hebgen Lake and all the rivers, and there's a lot of places to fish up there. And when I was a little kid, I knew every fish by name. There was Phyllis and John and Mabel and.
And how have you amassed all this collection? Okay, you're very modest to talk about how you have always focused, had your eyes on the ground, looked for things. But the things that surround you, talk about somebody who has really grabbed life by the horns and done things I'm sure you did not sit and think sometimes, I need to think this through. I'm sure you operated with your gut to do some of these things.
I'm glad you asked me that question because it gives me the opportunity to tell you that I see myself as somebody that's always lived out on the edge. How do you know where the edge is if you don't go out there and look? So many people today walk right down the center line. They never get off the center line, and I think they're missing their turn by not taking a chance. You know, I never wanted to break the law, but I sure as hell stretched it a few times. And I think that's a description of who I am and what my personality is.
And how about Vietnam? You went out there. Were you drafted? Did you want to go?
I volunteered to go to Vietnam in 1968. I had taught the gunnery school at Luke Air Force Base. I was an instructor pilot, and I was one of about 100 pilots that were the most qualified fighter pilots in the world. but I'd never been in combat, and I volunteered to go to Vietnam in 1968, and I flew 328 combat missions in about 340 days. I flew 374 combat missions in the F-100. I was shot down twice. I took battle damage. I lost roommates. I lost 22 pounds and didn't know it. I mean, this was a big year in my life. That was 1968.
How many times have you cheated death?
5 or 6. It's hard to fly fighter airplanes for 18 years and do it successfully. I crash landed one time in Vietnam. I was shot down, ejected from an F-100 in Laos. I landed with no landing gear in Châteauroux, France one time. The nose gear came down, the main gear wouldn't come down, so that was another time. But there were other times when I was flying. My early career, I was flying the F-86D. It held a world speed record at that time. And there were 3 or 4 things that happened to me in that couple of years that I didn't have a 10% chance of living, but I always walked away, and I've always thought there's a higher hand someplace. There's a couple of eyes looking out for me.
So you believe in a higher power?
Yes, I do. I'm not a religious person, but I'm very spiritual. My church is out in the trees and along the river bottoms and across the mountain passes, and that's where I like to be. And my collection here manifests itself in that direction as I see it.